Huge show, live from New York. It's the show that's still waiting for Darvin Ham's prom. He saw something last year in the fourth quarter.
7 games ago.
Sneakily. It was, I think, 9 games ago. Wildes is harder on Ham than I am. You know what? He
saw something.
He just saw something.
You guys wait to game 4. It's first things first. Huge draft show. So not good. Your reaction.
Kevin Clark, who's, I think, one of the best people covering the league, has said for years, one of his favorite NFL truisms is, not every team is actually trying to win the Super Bowl. And that was my takeaway from this.
Really?
The Falcons are not trying to win the Super Bowl. They're trying to avoid being awful. And this is the ultimate hedge against bottoming out. If you're trying to win the Super Bowl, going into this offseason as Atlanta, you have path 1, sign Kirk Cousins. Maybe borrow a bit from the future. Certainly use your top 10 draft pick on an instant impact, what you hope is an instant impact player. And as the draft, a lot of us projected that at 8, you would have your pick of any defensive player. Yeah. That's how I had in every mock draft. That's how it fell also. That's a path. Another path is, you know what? We love Michael Penix. And we know he's a rookie, but luckily, he's the age of most guys who are on their second contract. He has the experience of that. So we are going to go the way a lot of teams have gone, which is young quarterback, save that $100 million, and bolster the team that way. Instead, they went path 3. The ultimate hedge against either decision being a disaster. The ultimate hedge against ever having to deal with a Desmond Ridder situation again, which is fine if your goal is win a bad division, maybe win a playoff game, and stay in the mix. And so, listen, I think there are pros and cons to Penix, the prospect that we can get into, and there's pros and cons to Kirk Cousins, the quarterback that we can get into. But there is no argument to be made that 48 days ago, when you knew your cap space, you knew the free agency situation, all the quarterbacks were done playing games, and you knew where you were drafting, that there is a coherent thought process of we are going to be the biggest spenders in quarterback free agency and take the biggest leap in the quarterback draft. Those are in contradiction. And so, yeah, I mean, it was shocking, Brew, because what the Falcons told me is they value not being awful more than they value a chance at being great, which if I'm a Falcons fan is a bummer.
I wasn't shocked. I was flummoxed, dumbfounded. What? Like you said, you should have known. If you wanted Michael, you should have known 48 days ago, 44 days ago, that you loved Michael Penix. I get it that, you still had some process to go through. Yeah. But still, you could have, he's 24, and he will be in a couple weeks. By the way,
they didn't bring him in. He wasn't one of the 30 prospects they brought in, so they don't even have the argument of we didn't know we'd love him, but then he came in our building and was great. So it was all from tape. It was from what they watched.
I thought they didn't fly there?
What?
I thought
no, they saw him, but I'm saying they brought in 30 prospects to their building. He wasn't one of them, but go ahead.
And that doesn't help him out in the public relations. Yeah. But if you knew, if it's all on tape, you got your scout team, the college guys that scout, and they should have been looking at this guy. Hey, we love this guy. This is our opportunity.
Yep.
He's going to be there at 8. This is our opportunity to have a quarterback. He's 24, so he's older than most college quarterbacks, and he's ready to play now, and he won't be making any money.
Yeah.
We can build up our team. And look, obviously they didn't do that, and they tried to be the Green Bay Packers. Here's my thing that's different. Yeah. When the Packers drafted Jordan Love, they were a 13-win team, right? They had, obviously Aaron Rodgers was balling out, and he was older, okay? But they didn't have as many holes right? They had Devontae Adams, they had Aaron Jones, they had, MVS, they didn't have the holes that the Falcons have.
Also,
so
a pick in the mid-20s is different than a pick at 8.
At 8, that's very true. You could have traded down and got Penix later, probably. I mean, the way things were looking, maybe he would have gone sooner than we thought.
And Jordan Love's 25 going into year 5. So him sitting and waiting makes more sense than
that's the thing.
At 24.
Ideally, you would hope it goes well with Cousins, and he's there at least 3 years balling out. Let's just say, maybe it'll be 2, but let's say it goes well and it's 3 years. He gets you right close to Super Bowl contention, and then you bring in Penix, and he's going to be. Does he really want to sit for 3 years at 24 years old? I'd be ticked off if I was him.
So I feel people today and last night were like, oh man, this sucks for Kirk Cousins. And with respect to Kirk, who seems like a great dude, I don't feel badly for Kirk at all.
Not at all.
No, when you decide I am going to be a football mercenary, essentially.
Yeah.
I'm going to prioritize the business side of football in such a great way that as he has to be one of the highest paid players ever. Well, sometimes the business side of football comes and gets you.
Sure.
Sometimes when you when you go to a team that has no emotional connection to you, this might happen. The guy I feel terribly for is Michael Penix. Right. Michael Penix, who right now their hope is that he doesn't see the field until he's 26, 27 years old. And let me add one other thing, Wildes. The other Bruce point one of the best things, we were talking in your office yesterday, like who's the worst quarterback who'd still be good if you got to pay him what you pay a draft pick? Yeah. Basically, that would add value. You know what I mean? Like if you could take Daniel Jones but pay him what the 10th pick gets, does that help you? So much of the value of drafting a quarterback is the savings. Even
he's
if
gonna be close to ready to make real money.
Well, right, and for the next 2 years, they'll have no savings because they're paying Kirk. And this is how I also know the Falcons didn't plan to do this 6 weeks ago. Because if they would have structured Kirk's contract, where instead of a big signing bonus, it was guaranteed salaries, then he's really tradable. Right? Like next year, it's like Alex Smith and Mahomes. They trade Alex Smith. Right. But if you trade Kirk in a year, you have a $40 million cap hit because of the signing bonus. So basically,
he's there at least 2 years.
Or even if they do trade him, you don't have any of that savings. It's just how I know this wasn't the plan 6 weeks ago.
Chris Sims had a good tweet, Brew. I want your take on it. I didn't get it, but he was writing, Cousins is going to be rehabbing from a torn Achilles. Michael Penix is going to be throwing missiles at practice every day, and everyone's going to notice. Do you think this could possibly flip? And all of a sudden, a little quarterback controversy like we're going to see in Jacksonville.
Well, I'm like Nick.
You make good points, and then you undercut them. Go ahead.
First of all, there will be controversy. If Kirk Cousins doesn't come out and play great like right away or by week 4, whatever, there will be calls for Michael Penix.
Yeah.
Well, all right, so that's number one. Secondly, though, like Nick said, I'm sure if they would love Penix to look great in practice. The problem is, because then you could say, well, we could trade Kirk and maybe get some play. But like he said, you don't get the value on your cap.
And so people bring up, Russell Wilson did it to Matt Flynn, right?
Yeah.
But Matt Flynn's contract was not it was a 3-year deal, but it wasn't a multi-year commitment as far as the first 2 years fully guaranteed. It wasn't at this level of salary.
Right.
And there wasn't also as much buzz around Russell Wilson. When they took Russell Wilson in the 3rd round, nobody in the moment was like, oh man, quarterback of the future. He went out and proved it and won that. I really firmly believe that there is, and I feel badly here because I don't know the man, but this is just the way Terry Fontenot operated. To me, it is the way one would operate if they are putting their job security ahead of what's best for for the franchise.
What would make you think that?
But here's the thing.
Chasing away Bill Belichick?
There's that part too. I forgot about that.
But here's the thing about that.
Well, I wasn't thinking.
We also know this. I like Michael Penix. He looked fine in Washington. There's no guarantee he's going to be that guy.
No, of course. When
That's
I say
the thing.
Job security,
they may think so, but
even if he's not, you buy yourself time by him just being on the bench and not playing. Like, you know what I mean?
Well,
in a way
you got a couple years, right? Yeah, you got a couple years.
Yes.
But if in 2 years it's a Trey Lance situation, I'm not saying he plays real
By
games.
the way, he is.
But in practice, he doesn't look good. Now
He's going to look good in practice.
Also, for the record, Trey Lance and Michael Penix, 1 day apart as far as how old they are. And Trey Lance going into year 4. And so, like, that's the other piece of it is I just feel terribly for Penix. I really do.
Go out and win the job. That job is winnable.
I don't think it is winnable right now.
Yeah.
I don't.
Kirk Cousins on one Achilles? Because Kirk Cousins on one Achilles and you throw a beautiful ball.
what about the money?
I understand. Listen, I know Chris Sims sent a good tweet.
It was a great tweet.
It's not enough to make me believe.
Schrager backed it up and he won the draft.
Oh, Schrager did win the draft.
I told you he's an oracle.
Schrager's
got something weird going on.
Oh, yeah, it's called he talks to everyone.
No,
Schrager won the draft.
Oracle.
But you know what? I'm a big fan of silver medals. In my GOAT conversation and everything, I'll take the silver.
You do like silver.
I'll take the silver.
Watch out. And Hollywood Brown. Nick, do you love this?
Wildes, what do they call me?
Mr. Consistency.
I have a consistency conflict.
Oh, no.
Yeah, you do.
On one
you're
hand,
trapped.
on one hand, my long-standing controversial belief that football is not for tiny people. I understand people think I'm mean, and it's a hot take, but the idea that guys who wear extra slim suits are probably not going to be so that is just a general belief. That is in conflict with my long-standing belief of anytime the Kansas City Chiefs can trade with the Buffalo Bills on the draft day, you got to do it. It led to the Babe Ruth trade of the NFL, which, I like to remind people what it was because it was, that's how we got Patrick Mahomes was the trade with Buffalo on draft day. A couple years later, the Chiefs jumped right ahead of Buffalo to get Trent McDuffie. That, of course, worked out. And now you're trading with Buffalo again to get this guy. So when those two are in conflict, what do I go to? I go to tiebreakers. What is Andy Reid saying? So Andy Reid said, who he reminds me of? Deshaun Jackson. I was like, oh, that's interesting.
I buy that.
That's interesting. And so I want to show you, Brew, a couple hilarious graphics, which is there's this raw athleticism score test. 10 is perfect, 0 is non-existent. Here's Xavier Worthy's, which is what you need to know is this. He has basically a perfect score on everything, and then weight, he has 0.3 because he weighs 165 pounds. So at first blush, you're like, okay, that again, how does that look compared to Deshaun Jackson? Can I see that, please? Oh, my goodness. They're the same weight. He's a little taller. Andy's more athletic. How did Deshaun look with Andy Reid? Okay.
Good.
So, short version is this, Brew. Biggest winner of this is Isaiah Pacheco because you're going to have lighter boxes because, you know what I mean? If you can't catch him, you got to be over the top. And it is not the pick that I thought they were going to make. It's not the pick I would have made because of my allergy to tiny players, but I trust the Chiefs, and if you can trade with the Bills, you trade with the Bills, so I like it.
I buy that.
Look, I said yesterday, you got a Ferrari, and you're treating him like a Toyota.
Yeah,
now you are finally treating him once again like a Ferrari.
Yeah.
And look, as much as it's going to pain me, I don't want to see any more banners, confetti, love Kansas City, but I don't know that I want to go there next year in February again.
Okay, all right.
But I'm going to have to deal with all this from Nick because I love it. I love it. I mean, you mentioned Deshaun Jackson. How about Devontae Smith?
Yeah.
He's small, too.
Correct. Same
He's
size.
great. And as good as Deshaun was, and Michael Vick that year in Philly and all that, he had Patrick Mahomes throwing him the football. Mahomes is going to make this dude a superstar.
Well,
I really believe that.
Patrick's
and as you
quite
said,
excited.
It's going to open everything up for Pacheco, for the receivers underneath, for Travis. This is a great pick.
Also on the board, he just can't get open.
well, except
It's got to be on.
that Xavier Worthy can't?
Yeah, I'm just saying it just gets a little bit whoop, and that really
he's
shows
going
him
to
off.
have to get off press coverage, of course. But he runs
wondering.
when you run a 4.2, you can get open.
And so here's the thing. That's not my concern.
Okay.
Because he didn't play small college football. He played big-time college football.
Right.
And unlike other speedsters like John Ross or others, he was highly productive every year. The only year he wasn't was when he broke his hand, which a hand injury I don't think is because you're skinny. My concern is not that he's not going to be able to get open. I think he'll be highly productive. Similar, when people were talking about him first, I brought up Tank Dell. Tank Dell was unbelievable, and then he got hurt. my concern is not that, and not that Tank Dell won't be good again, but I think he'll be highly productive when he's on the field. It also, the Chiefs now will be starting 3 sub-4-4 guys. Pacheco's a 4.37. Hollywood's a 4.27, and this guy's the fastest guy ever. But the other piece of this is, and credit to them for knowing when you're beat. This is also the Bills waving the white flag on the rivalry. So, Dusty, drop the banner. I know Bruce said he's sick of them, but please, it'll drop at some point. I promise you guys. I believe the banner.
Come on, Dusty, you can do it.
Maybe it won't. If not, I'll describe it.
Dusty, you got it. Come on, Dusty.
Oh, there it is.
Oh, that seems sad.
Rest in peace.
Gee
the
whiz.
Bills-Chiefs rivalry.
Took a dark
Co-signed
turn.
that.
It actually is true.
No, because if the Bills thought they were still, the Bills understood and understand, got to take a step back, got to reorganize, got to recalibrate. So they're not competing with the Chiefs.
Okay. Not with the Chiefs.
So, no.
I'm sure they still think they can make the playoffs.
Sure,
and
but
they can't, that division.
But if they thought they were competing with the Chiefs for a Super Bowl, they don't trade with the Chiefs to let the Chiefs move up and get their guy.
The only sports show with a gravestone prominently displayed.
Well, it's all right.
Past me. Finally, the team of the century grabs Drake Maye at 3 to replace, and if you're holding a drink, pour it on your carpet, Mac Jones. Belichick was on with McAfee and had this read. Drake compares himself a lot to Josh Allen. We'll see about that. I think there are some comparisons with the size and athleticism, but Josh Allen is a pretty special player, sure. Brew, do you think I should be happy? Because I am.
You were going to be happy no matter who it was.
That's a fair. Not if it was J.J. McCarthy.
I mean,
you really wouldn't. You would.
Wildes,
I would have fallen in line.
America, I'll fall in line.
I would have fallen in line, but I wouldn't have been happy. I would have fallen in line. But now I'm happy.
I do think you should be happy.
Thank you.
Look, I got my doubts about Drake Maye, but he does have upside.
Yeah.
I think that's the thing. Like, I don't think he's ready right now. You can put sitting behind Jacoby Brissett for a season, or, he can play the last few games.
Yeah.
I think more than that. I think in the teens.
Teens?
Yeah, I think I want to see him the last few games.
10 games? After the bye. We'll see where the bye is. You know what? We'll see where the bye is.
But the bottom line is Jacoby Brissett's a smart quarterback. He can learn from him.
Yep.
Hopefully, for next season, they start to give him some weapons.
That's what,
right? You got time for that. And he can learn. So the bottom line is he's got more potential than the Mac Jones and
of course.
guys
no,
like that.
Listen,
so
he actually
we'll see
has
if he can reach his upside.
Right. To me, he's kind of the opposite as a prospect of Mac.
Yeah.
Now, Mac, I thought, was high floor, low ceiling. It turns out he was low floor, low ceiling. I mean, no, that's what it turned out. Unfortunately, that's what I'm saying is
let's hope they don't screw around and give
Drake,
special teams coaches.
Thank you.
Drake Maye has more variance to me than any of these quarterback prospects. You know what I mean? In that it's on the board that he is Mitch Trubisky.
Sure.
But it's also on the board that he is, a lesser Josh Allen. Well, I would say a lesser version of Josh Allen.
I'd say 2.0.
I have two concerns here, Brew. One is, whenever people use the Josh Allen comp, it feels a lot to me, to mix metaphors, when NBA people are talking, they're like trying to be the 04 Pistons. I'm like, okay, yes, it did happen, but it's not really duplicable.
It doesn't happen often.
Like a guy improving his accuracy, improving his. The reason Josh Allen is such a unique story is because we'd never seen a guy go from that in college to that. Now, Drake was better than Josh in college in a bigger program. But the other part of it is just the history of any quarterback that isn't the first or second quarterback taken in a draft. So I'll give it to you real quick, just very quickly here. And this applies to Nix, Penix, McCarthy, all of them. So I just went for every draft from year 2000 and now. Okay. So there's 24 drafts. Of those 24 drafts, the first quarterback taken, not number one overall necessarily, just first quarterback taken, 11 of the 24 worked out objectively for the team that drafted him. Second quarterback, it's 8 of the 24. For the third, fourth, fifth, or sixth, it's 4 or less for every single spot.
This century?
Yes. 4 or less guys.
So like the third quarterback taken in the draft.
Who are those?
Herbert.
Right.
Herbert and Josh Allen.
Herbert, Josh Allen, and
third
one more awesome
overall.
one. There's one more, Big Ben.
Yeah.
Herbert, Josh Allen, Big Ben and there's one more good one.
Where was Dak? because he was a
Dak
fourth
was
rounder.
I think
eighth best.
I think
was the eighth quarterback taken.
Oh, so you didn't count? Because there's other.
No, of course.
Purdy. I mean, to this point, Purdy.
No, I'm
Purdy
not
was
saying-
the ninth quarterback.
Right.
Can I tell you something?
Yeah.
I overheard
Jalen?
Nick trying to come up with this, and I researched it myself.
Okay,
that's
well,
why
that's-
he's like,
I was
wow.
gonna say there's other.
No, but-
where was Jalen Hurts?
So
What number?
Jalen Hurts was, I think, the fourth quarterback taken,
Lamar?
and he's
Lamar was
one
the
of,
fifth.
Lamar was the fifth.
Brady was
right.
seventh.
So right, Brew. That's my point.
So-
The third quarterback taken has worked out for 4 of the 24 teams have done it. The fourth quarterback taken has worked out for 2 of the 24 teams. The fifth quarterback taken has worked out for 3 of the 24 teams. Lamar's one of them. The sixth quarterback taken has worked out for 2 of the 24 teams. Now, historically, those guys aren't top, 3 picks usually, and certainly not first-round picks. I get it. My simple point is, the odds are stacked against you, even at taking the second quarterback.
I buy
so
that.
I think
I don't buy that. I don't buy that because there've been most of the greatest quarterbacks were not drafted that early.
Right, but that dismisses, Brew, the long list of second rounders.
Yeah, I get that, but I can name a bunch of number 1 picks and number 2 picks recently who didn't pan out. I mean, I get the odds and stuff, but
I'm just saying the odds are stacked against him. Is all I'm saying.
I disagree. I think they're stacked for him.
Okay.
He's got a little Gronkowski thing going on. Him and his
brothers?
Yeah. They're like, oh.
Gronk would have been a bad quarterback.
Gronk?
Yeah, bad
No,
quarterback.
it would have
this
been
is
great.
a quarterback, not a tight end.
But he had got it.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get more from the show and to check out clips from other shows on FS1.